Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's a beautiful day here in LA and I decided that the weather was so perfect that I had to shoot a video for you guys. And so I decided to do another foundation review, and it's going to be on the Maybelline Fit Me Matte and Poreless Foundation that I recently picked up at the drugstore. So I have not yet used it because I've been saving it for this video. So I'm excited to see how this goes up against my absolute favorite foundation of all time, which you guys would have seen this a million times on my channel if you are a subscriber of mine, and it's the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Foundation, and I'm in the shade Soft Ivory and Soft Beige. So these are my two favorite foundations, and so I wanted to see how the Matte and Poreless compare. So in my Wet n Wild Photo Focus review video that I did for you guys, I didn't have both of my lights lit. I only had one lit because I didn't want to overheat in my video, and so I'm going to keep the lighting exactly the same in this video so that you guys can see how it compares. And so I have this side light lit and the other side light is not lit, which is exactly how it was in my Wet n Wild Photo Focus Foundation review video. So the lighting is going to be identical to that, and I'm also shooting in the same time of day and it's similar weather to that day as well. So it will be exciting to see how the Maybelline Fit Me Foundation does in all of these conditions. So I put on my eye makeup, my lipstick, and I still have yet to put on the foundation, and I also did the concealer under my eyes with my Wet n Wild foundation, which has been my go-to under eye concealer lately. So why don't we go ahead and throw on the Matte and Poreless foundation, and it's in the shade 128 Warm Nude in case I didn't mention it earlier, and I'm using the same brush that I used in my Wet n Wild video, which was the BH Cosmetics 113 brush. So I'm removing the lid here, and it's a twist off cap. There's no applicator or anything, which is not ideal, I don't think, because sometimes you can just pour out too much, and so the Wet n Wild has an applicator, which I really like. And let's go ahead and just put some of this on and see how it does. So I went with the Matte and Poreless because I think sometimes with dewy foundations it can just look a little too sweaty, and with summer and everything I've been sweating a lot and I don't need any extra dew. Do you feel me? So yeah, so I'm applying this and I don't even know if I got the right shade for my skin tone, but we will just see how it does. And I only got one shade because I didn't know how it was going to be. So if I like it, then maybe I'll get a backup one or just another shade to go with it. Because I like to switch up my foundations every once in a while. I think it's better for your skin to do that so that your skin is like always guessing about what you're putting on it. So I do like to switch up my foundations from time to time, just like I do with my skincare. So I don't know if that's enough, but it already seems a bit drier, and not dry, but just a bit I don't know what the word is I'm looking for. It's a bit, it definitely doesn't blend in as well as my Wet n Wild. It feels a bit like it's pulling and it's not blending in very well. I feel like my Wet n Wild you don't even need to do anything and it just blends in so effortlessly. I feel like if you let this foundation sit on your skin for too long, it's not going to be able to blend because it will dry so fast. So if you're applying it like this, you need to be really fast with blending it in because it doesn't blend so great. Let's see. I wonder how it's looking on camera, but up close I feel like it looks okay. I don't feel like it gives the blur effect that the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Foundation does in the slightest, but I do think it's a nice foundation. Like I think it's pretty, and I think that it covers well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this speck of makeup that's under my eye that fell down right here. There we go. It's like a little makeup fleck. And I'm just going to eye this foundation and see if I need to apply some more coverage. So you guys, I made the mistake of picking at my skin before I hopped on camera, and if you've ever done that, take my advice and just don't do it. Look what it did to my skin. It made me red. Look at that. I'm like blotchy, and it just is not good for your skin. They say that if you are a face picker that you should wear socks on your hands at night if that's the time that you pick your skin. That way it reminds you not to pick your skin. So yeah, picking your skin is one of the worst things for your skin. It's really bad for your pores. Like look, that's not even covering up because I picked at it. But concealer will cover it. I think it looks pretty. I don't think that it's as good as my Wet n Wild foundation. I'll just say that right now because I think I'm gonna have a hard time finding a foundation that even compares. Like, it just is so good. And it's not that this is a bad foundation, it's just different. I feel like it just doesn't, it's not as thin of a foundation. I feel like this is a thicker look on my face, which I'm not really into heavy foundation looks. I like my skin to kind of come through a little bit. And what's great about the Wet n Wild foundation is that your skin can come through, but there's still coverage, and it doesn't really look like you have foundation on, and it just blurs everything. It's a miracle product. So where's my concealer? So let's go ahead and just conceal. Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and finish my makeup and come right back to you guys, because I still have to put on some bronzer and things like that. But yeah, I think that this is a pretty foundation, and I'm sure I'll use it in the future. But if I know that I'm doing on-camera work or taking photos or anything like that, it's definitely going to be my Wet n Wild Photo Focus foundation. This has been tried and true in every sort of scenario you could think of, and it has passed all of those tests, and we'll see how this one does today. So I'll check in with you guys and show you how the foundation is looking after a few hours. Okay, so before I put the rest of my makeup on, I just wanted to show you guys up close how the foundation looks on camera. And what I might do is show an up close shot next to this one, or after this snippet of the Wet n Wild foundation, how it looks up close, so that you guys can see the difference up close on camera. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm going to put my bronzer and blush on and that sort of thing.
Blow me some kisses to break my lonely frown. Send me your loving so I can live again. There's always trouble around my every bend. Save my soul, hold it close and don't let go. Save my soul, hold it close and don't let go. Certainly die. But when I breathe on my breath, it's only done to prolong my death. But when you show me love and respect, I lie awake and cry and shake. I see that love is mind. Everything else is a waste of time. Save my soul, hold it close and don't let go. Save my soul, hold it close and don't let go. Save my soul, hold it close and don't let go. And don't let go. And don't.
So I'm just getting home and I wanted to do a check-in with you on the Maybelline Fit Me Matte and Poreless Foundation, and I did get home later than I had anticipated, so it's been about 5 hours rather than 4 hours. And this is how the foundation is looking after 5 hours. So this is how the foundation is looking after 5 hours with 0 touch-ups. So I haven't touched anything up, I haven't added powder or anything like that. So that's how the foundation looks without touch-ups. And I will say that my forehead area is very oily looking, and I don't recall my Wet n Wild foundation being that oily like on my forehead. But it's not like terrible because I have dry skin, so I'm kind of fine with the oil look. And so I do like how it's looking after 5 hours. It hasn't really broken down or anything like that. I feel like the coverage is still there that was there earlier today, and aside from the oiliness, that's all I really have to say about it. I do like it. I just don't like it as much as my Wet n Wild Photo Focus foundation, but I will use it. This is the normal to oily foundation, in case I didn't mention that, and I don't know if there are other variations of it, but this is for normal to oily skin. And yes, I think that at hour 5 for my forehead to look this oily, I'm curious to see how it would look at like the 8th hour. I'm sure it would look even oilier. But if you have oily skin, that's probably not something that you would be into with this foundation, but I have dry skin, so I'm okay with it. The only time that I wouldn't be okay with it is if it became so oily that it just kind of smears off and then you're not left with any coverage. So I'm okay with it looking like this right now. I mean, I'm not going anywhere, so. But yeah, that's this is my 5-hour check-in. So I don't really care for how this Maybelline Matte and Poreless foundation applied. I feel like it applied very dry and kind of catchy on my skin, like it was catching in certain areas, and it just didn't blend very smoothly for me. But I will say that after it's all blended and I have the rest of my makeup on and I set it with a makeup spray, I really actually love the look of the foundation. I think that it looks really beautiful, but I don't think that it compares to my Wet n Wild foundation at all. I feel like they're two completely different kinds of foundation. But I do think that this is a beautiful foundation, and I'm sure that I will use it more in the future, but I don't really like how it applied. I feel like I had to work at it to get it applied into my skin. If you have dry skin like I do, this probably isn't the best foundation, and maybe that's why it was catching on my skin, but my Wet n Wild foundation isn't a dewy foundation, and I feel like it gives more of a matte finish when it's on my skin, and it doesn't feel dry on my skin. This feels dry, like when I was applying it. I feel like the Matte and Poreless is a thicker foundation, and I personally like my skin to kind of come through. I like coverage, but I don't like it to be too much coverage, because then it just looks like you have too much makeup on, and I like like natural looks. So the Wet n Wild foundation is a thinner consistency of foundation, so it just meshes really well on my skin and makes me feel like there's coverage, but I don't have like cakey makeup on or anything like that. And I don't think this looks cakey. It kind of felt a little cakey as I was applying it, but the more I blended it in and then the more I just kind of worked my other products in with it, I feel like it looks really nice, and I'm curious to see how it does throughout the day. So I'm gonna go ahead and do my outro now, now that I'm here, my camera's set up and all of that. So yes, until later today when I check in with you guys, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you so much to everyone who commented on my last video and who liked my video and who also subscribed. Your guys' support is awesome. Thank you to my returning and loyal subscribers, and thank you to my new subscribers for joining my channel. I'm so happy to have you guys here. And if you guys have used this Maybelline Matte and Poreless Foundation, I would love to hear how it's working for you. And I would also love to hear how the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Foundation is doing for you if you are using that foundation as well, because it is my absolute favorite foundation. But yes, I would love to hear how this works out for you guys, and if you've never tried it and you tried it after this video, I would also like to hear how it works for you. So yes, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. God bless, bye!